Everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again with another exciting edition of AEW Dynamite to recap. Lots of stuff on this week's Dynamite. Sting, Shaq, Kenny Omega trying to explain his actions perhaps, and various other things as well. But I mean, there's only one way of telling how good all of it bloody was, and that is by assigning each individual segment a lovely individual grade. That's right, it's time for AEW Dynamite Graded. We start things off with a big high-octane tag team match as the Young Bucks take on Angelico and Jack Evans, TH2. And the heels jump the Bucks before the bell, but the Bucks get the better of the opening stages with all the Young Bucks things, dives and flips. Crazy kids, what are they like? But they're forgetting that they are facing one of the few men who can possibly outflip them, Jack Evans. So at one stage, Angelico has Matt Jackson over his shoulders in a fireman's carry near the turnbuckles, so Jack Evans scoots up to the top rope, leaps off, and then uses Matt Jackson's back as like a platform to moonsault off all the way to the outside where he crushes Nick Jackson. Jeepers is all I can say. Bloody jeepers. And then a little bit later on, Angelico just turns into John Cena. He's just kicking out of everything. Like there's a big springboard X Factor. Angelico sells it like RVD, like on his head, kicks out of that. Big double T move from the Bucks. Angelico kicks out of that. They can't put Angelico away. He's the new Johnny Gargano. Double super kick to Angelico inside the ring. 1, 2. Angelico kicks out again. Matt Jackson hurts his leg attempting the more bang for your buck. Angelico manages to get his signature submission locked in. It looks like they might get the win here if Matt Jackson taps out, but Nick's back to save the day with a big swanton. And from there, the Bucks go into overdrive. Huge indie taker on Jack Evans after they've caught him off a Sasuke special on the outside of the ring. Back inside, Angelico gets caught with the BTE trigger, and finally, that's enough to put him away. What a brave performance by that man. Now, first of all, there was a lot of impressive stuff here, of course. All four men are tremendous athletes, but a big criticism of the Young Bucks, the standard criticism of the Young Bucks, is that they are just spot monkeys and there's no psychology in their matches. And I've been a big defender of the Young Bucks in the past and saying, like, look, if you actually watch their matches, there is a lot of storytelling going on. In this match, though, I feel like it plays more into the stereotype. There were a lot of spots for spots' sake in this match. There was a lot of kicking out, especially by Angelico. A lot of guys taking big moves and then springing up and running around as if nothing's happened just a few moments later. Yeah, it wasn't my favourite match by either of these teams, shall we say. But I'm still going to give it a B grade because, as I mentioned, there was a lot of impressive stuff and I'm enjoying the Acclaimed thing, which looks like it's going to roll on. In fact, after the match, the Acclaimed jumped the guardrail. It looked like they were about to jump the Young Bucks during their celebration, but SCU came along and cut them off and the Acclaimed had to kind of run away. So, looking forward to seeing where that's going. We now get a Darby Allin vignette where he is with a psychologist doing a Rorschach test. Rorschach. What are the ink blot thing where you've got to say what you see. And the images all resemble a member of Team Taz, so like he'll see an image of Powerhouse Hobbs and Darby will go, that's a snake in the grass, man. And it's just like, you know, I get what you're doing here. And then he sees one of Brian Cage and he goes, well, I see a puppet, but I also see the next #1 contender. So Darby points out that Brian Cage has beaten him up a lot of times, but never alone. And now he's going to give him the chance to try and do it alone in a title match. So that sets that up quite nicely. And then we end the vignette with Darby being shown an image of Sting and he just laughs. And I wonder what that means. Next up, we get Cody Rhodes. He is in the ring with Tony Schiavone, who wants to ask him about last week when Sting obviously came down to save the day. And before Cody can even say a word, the lights go down. And here comes the man himself. Sting makes his entrance, he gets in the ring, and he's all smiles at first. He's really happy. He's joining in with the crowd, chanting, this is awesome. He's giving Tony Schiavone a big hug. He's getting Tony to shout, it's Sting, into the microphone. It all seems really pleasant and really nice, but then things get a little bit tense. Cody asks Sting, why did you come along last week? And Sting says, well, I'm not here for you, Cody. Ooh. And he says, I'm here because there's a lot of familiarity about this place. A lot of things are familiar. And I'm like, that's nice. TNT, you know, the old memories of WCW. But then Sting goes, one thing in particular is very familiar. And he points up at the stands where Darby Allin sat, obviously on his own, high up in the bleachers with the face paint. and it's quite a cool moment. After that little tease, Sting reveals to Cody, yes, I have officially signed with AEW, and I plan to spend a lot of time right here. Now, by right here, does he mean in the promotion itself, or does he mean physically in the ring where he's currently stood? I'm not certain. Sting then says to Cody, see you around, kid, fully patronizes him, and then gets out of there. And there's a lot of things still up in the air. This gets a B+ from me. Sting's promo was very good, but yeah, not a lot got resolved here. Not a lot of answers, just more questions really. So lots of intrigue heading forwards, and we'll just see where it goes. Just a short backstage promo next from Team Taz, and it's not just Cage, Hobbs, Starks and Taz, but also Hook, Taz's son, and it's revealed that he is now training with Team Taz, not with Cody as he previously was. Next up, we get another tag team match, FTR taking on, great tag team name this, the Varsity Blondes. That's Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. Obviously his dad was in the Hollywood Blondes, so it all makes sense. I just think Varsity Blondes is a really cool name. And honestly, this match, I felt like it was a bit of a throwback. It had a bit of an old school vibe. I really enjoyed it. The baby faces just had so much excitement and so much hair. It was like watching the Rockers at certain points. And then on the other side of things, you had FTR, who of course are an old school tag team in the new age. That's their whole thing. They're methodical, they're sneaky. I really like the way these two teams mesh together. The match isn't that long, however. Griff Garrison gets a hot tag at one point. It's quite a nice hot tag. He runs wild. Big double spear to FTR, but it's not enough to put them away. Brian Pillman Jr. gets the tag. He's back in, and Dawson drops him with a very nice, very nasty looking brainbuster. And from there, Goodnight Express and FTR pick up the win. As they leave the ringside area, FTR argue with Jurassic Express at ringside, but nothing is followed up on quite yet. A little bit later on, they are backstage with my boy, Alex Marvez, coming off an MVP performance last week, mind you, and he just basically asks them what is next for you guys. Now, Cash Wheeler takes the rap for losing the tag titles to the Young Bucks. He says, I got ahead of myself, I didn't wrestle in the FTR way, and it was my fault, guys. And Tully Blanchard goes, no, it wasn't your fault, right? We're all taking this responsibility as a group. I wasn't even there when it happened, but together, the three of us, we are unstoppable. Scott Dawson then compares them to an 82 Ford Bronco, which I'm sure is a cool car. Sounds very American. And basically they all say, fear the revelation. And they all throw up they do their sign, and there we go. Now the match gets a B for me because I really enjoyed it. I just wish it was longer. I really, really enjoyed that match. And I think that Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. are very, very promising. Good stuff all round, and it looks like FTR are probably going to be feuding with Jurassic Express next. Next up, we go backstage to the bar area, where of course Hangman Page is there, and my boy, Alex Marvez is interviewing him as well. Marvez reveals that next week Hangman has been booked in a 6-man tag match against Matt Hardy and Private Party, but he's got no partners yet, so who's he going to pick? Hangman's about to talk, but then up from behind the bar pops, of course, John Silver and Alex Reynolds of the Dark Order. They've got cowboy hats, or their attempt at cowboy hats, I think, on their heads. And Hangman's like, how long have you guys been down there for? And they're like, 7 days, whatever. About 7 days. Hangman's like, guys, I'm not gonna make you my partners for this match. And then, you know, they go, who else are you gonna pick? And Hangman's like, oh yeah, I've got no friends. Oh, that is a good point. So he agrees to team with Silver and Reynolds. They're all like, yes, get in. But Hangman's like, taking on Dustin Rhodes, who's accompanied by Lee Johnson, who is the latest signing, I guess, to the Nightmare family. Ten takes control of the action early on with his power, just booting Dustin around the ring. A huge spine buster at one point as well. He kicks Dustin to the outside, he goes around to get him, but he's grabbed over the guardrail by Aaron Solo, an indie wrestler who's recently been on Dark quite a lot. A lot of WWE fans may know him as Bayley's partner, but generally, I think he's very promising in his own right. Ten turns around and boots Aaron Solo in the chest for his troubles, gets back in the ring, but it does prove to be the turning point of the match because Dustin catches him upon re-entering the ring with a running bulldog, and that's enough to put 10 away. The Dark Order hit the arena. Evil Uno gets in the ring and gets on the mic and says, Dustin, your legacy is great, it's spanned 5 different decades, but here right now, you are the 3rd most important Rhodes. Oh, which thankfully never really went anywhere. Uno should probably have chosen any other number to offer Dustin, and he may have accepted. Instead, Dustin decides, well, I'm not having any of this. He pretends to lift up the hand and then just slaps Evil Uno down. And obviously, Rusty wouldn't be surprised to see him join the Dark Order, doing a nice purple face paint gimmick. at some point in the future, perhaps. So that's why it's getting a B. The match was fairly short, but totally inoffensive, but I'm really intrigued by the possibility of this storyline going forwards. Next up, we go to a pre-recorded sit-down interview with Tony Schiavone, Brandi Rhodes, and Shaquille O'Neal. A lot of tension here at first. But Shaq does his best to kind of diffuse this tension. He says, yes, I know Jade Cargill, we go way back. I was excited to see her doing great things in AEW, but I disagree with her breaking your arm, Brandi. Shaq also says that he and Cody may have gone back and forth on social media before, but it was all good fun. Shaq loves Cody, he respects the Rhodes family, and Brandi seems quite pleased with this. They shake hands. Shaq says he can't wait to see Brandi and Jade settle their differences in the ring. But then as Brandi leaves, Shaq opens his mouth and he puts his foot in it. Shaq, why are you doing this? Well, probably because he's 7 foot and he can do what he wants. Shaq says, Brandi, by the way, while your arm's in a sling, while you're healing, why not watch Jade Cargill in the ring? She might give you a few pointers. Brandi is livid. She takes Tony's glass of water, throws it over Shaq and storms off. And Shaq gives us this wonderful visual where he's just glaring at the camera with water dripping off him. And it looks like, yeah, this match is going to happen in some form, whether that be Cody versus Shaq or a mixed tag with Shaq and Jade taking on the Rhodeses. It gets a B+, good stuff here from Brandi, good stuff from Shaq, and yeah, I'm cautiously excited to see where this goes. The Inner Circle now will head to the ring for their ultimatum meeting, where if they don't all agree to get along, they'll break up forever. Jericho opens things, getting on the mic. Oh yeah, Santana's not there, by the way. They do mention this, but there's no reason really given outside of kayfabe. So Jericho gets on the mic and says, look, we need to hash this all out, right? Sammy doesn't like MJF. Hager and Wardlow hate each other. Ortiz is sick of us all. And Ortiz is just there going like, yeah, I am, yeah. And then Jericho says, and Santana's so sick of all of this that he didn't even show up to work this week. He's about to try and resolve things, and then MJF goes, I'll take the floor, Chris. I'll start things off right here. And I'm like, oh, no, MJF. MJF gets on the mic and says, look, I'm just going to come clean. And I'm going to say that I think I am possibly the root of the problem here. Because I was to remind the Inner Circle that he wanted to join and he chose them because he wanted to be part of the greatest trade last week when Sammy was going to throw in the towel during Jericho's match. And everyone kicks off. And obviously Jericho's like, look, MJF, we all watched Dynamite back, right? We saw that it was you who was going to throw the towel in. And MJF says, look, I swear to God, God is my witness, I had sweat on my brow, I was just going to, everyone's just kicking off even more, it's all going wrong. And then Ortiz interrupts. And Ortiz, right, despite being often the wackiest member of the Inner Circle, actually plays peacekeeper here and says, look, you know what, right? I was talking to Santana and he helped me realize something. MJF and Wardlow, they are assets to the Inner Circle and they are great talents. We might not like them as people, but their value can't be denied. And then Ortiz calls for MJF and Sammy to shake hands. Sammy really doesn't want to, but he says, Chris, talking to Jericho now, I've trusted you with everything. You brought me into this promotion. You've shown me such great things. But I'm telling you now, once I've shaken his hand, if anything else goes wrong, I am leaving the Inner Circle forever. And Jericho's like, okay, fair enough. And they shake hands. And that appears to be the end of it. And then Hager gets on the mic and goes, that guy keeps staring at me. And Wardlow's like, you're staring at me. And then they're like, you're creeping me out, man, to each other. Orange Cassidy in the main event. And I'm going to get revenge on him for beating my friend Chris Jericho. And it's difficult to beat him. I've done it myself. I know how difficult it is. Jericho's like, MJF, shut up. You're ruining it. They all get in the middle. They do their gesture, which I'm not going to do for fear of being demonetized. And they all shout, you know, Inner Circle for life. Actually, no, just Jericho shouts that. So could be going badly wrong in the future for him. This gets an A grade from me. I thought everyone played their parts really well here, and I'm very excited for the potential of where this is going. My guess will be a babyface turn for Sammy Guevara. At some point he gets cast out when MJF screws him over, and then at some point gets revenge, possibly on MJF, possibly also on Chris Jericho as well. But we'll have to wait and see. I think there's a lot of different, very exciting possibilities here. Next up, we get 6-man tag team action as Eddie Kingston, The Butcher, and The Blade take on Lance Archer, with Jake the Snake Roberts, of course, and the Lucha Bros, Penta and Phoenix. And Archer is wasting no time in this one, charging down the ramp, leaping over the top rope onto his opponents, and things kick off 100 miles an hour. But it doesn't go too well for the babyfaces, even though they were the ones who instigated this fast start to the match, because on the outside, the Butcher grabs Penta, lifts him up, and powerbombs him through the timekeepers. Everyone in this match. Phoenix gets the hot tag at one stage. He's doing very Phoenixy things. Jake the Snake let his boys take advantage of the match. But on the whole, the heels have this one in the bag. That is confirmed shortly after Phoenix crushes Eddie Kingston with a big dive to the outside, but once he gets back in the ring, the Butcher and the Blade hit their double team finisher on him, and that's enough for the win. Lance Archer jumps the winning team as they celebrate. He's got the blade up for the big razor's edge that he likes to do, or the blackout I believe it's called, but the Butcher pulls Blade down, saves him, and the heels all run away. This one is not over yet. This gets a B grade, decent stuff. I wonder what the point of Penta's injury was. Maybe he is working with a legit injury and didn't want to do much in this match, so just took that powerbomb and then that was his involvement done, or maybe it's for storyline purposes. Either way, decent match. It gets a B grade from me, but as I mentioned, it's not over by a long shot. We head quickly backstage now, where Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose are beating up Red Velvet, but here come a pair of baby faces, Serena Deeb and Big Swole, to try and save the day. They all argue for a little bit, and then Diamante and Ivelisse appear to jump the faces from behind, and it looks like Vicky Guerrero's stable may have gained a couple of extra members. It was a bit hard to work out what was going on because it was a very short space of time. There were a lot of people involved, but I think that's pretty much what happened. Next up we get Abaddon, who of course has a title shot lined up somewhere in the future, probably against Hikaru Shida. But for now, she's taking on Tesha Price, and the graphic shows that she's 0-5 so far in AEW. Poor Tesha, man. Poor Tesha. And yes, this is an absolute squash match. Abaddon gets the easy victory, but continues the assault after the bell as well. So here comes Hikaru Shida to try and save the day. Shida's got a kendo stick, cracks Abaddon over the head with it. Abaddon is out in the middle of the ring, but then she sits up like a brother of destruction, she does, and Shida and Tesha have to run away. Oh, creepy stuff. This gets a C+. It was just a very quick squash match, but the little storyline advancement after the match I enjoyed, so it gets a plus tacked on to give it that final grade. Next up, Kenny Omega and Don Callis arrive via helicopter. They walk into the arena, they get in the ring, they're all wearing suits and sunglasses and stuff. They're looking very 80s and very heelish. And Kenny Omega, I just hate him, but it's working in a good way. Tony Schiavone's in the ring with a microphone and says, look, why did you break this gentleman's agreement last week with Jon Moxley? I've been in this business since 1983, and it's the most despicable thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, Tony, that's a lie. You were in the business when the NWO was running. Khan, welcome to the wrestling business. You trusted us, we screwed you over. That's just what happens, brother. I like that little bit. That was pretty funny. That was pretty good stuff. Very heelish from Don Callis, of course. He also takes credit for the formation of AEW, saying that that match, Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho in New Japan, that match is what birthed AEW. So without me and Kenny setting that up, you could say that AEW would never have existed in the first place. Kenny then shows his black eye. He removes his sunglasses and shows that he did get a black eye in that match with Moxley and says, look, Moxley's got it all in the ring. Look what he did to me. But he's got nothing up here. I'm the smartest man in this industry. We are the masterminds behind this whole thing. And remember, yes, we broke the gentleman's agreement, but nobody kicks out of the one-winged angel. And I'm like, yes, this is good, because in the future you know that somebody is going to kick out of it, and it's going to be amazing. I so want it to be Hangman. Omega says there are more surprises to come as well. We are nowhere near close to being done, but Callis stops him from revealing those and says they can't handle it yet. So they leave us in suspense and leave. I'm going to give this a B+ grade. Again, similar to the Sting segment from earlier on. Not a lot moved along, really, but just a nice bit of filler, a nice addition to the story, so that when things do move along, maybe they make a bit more sense in terms of character motivations. And finally, we get the main event of the night, MJF versus Orange Cassidy for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. MJF jumps Orange Cassidy before the bell and breaks the sunglasses, and MJF just starts this match off really hot. He's not having any of Orange Cassidy's games. He's basically just taking it to the babyface. They head to the apron. Orange goes for the Orange Punch. MJF rolls out the way. Orange punches the ring post. And wisely for the rest of the match, MJF works the hand. It's very nicely done. At one stage, Cassidy spills to the outside, MJF distracts the referee, and all of the inner circle start putting the boots to Orange Cassidy. So, the best friends head to the back and bring out various assorted baby faces around the ring to help even the odds. Both guys get a chance to shine in their own special ways. Orange Cassidy hits a huge springboard senton onto all of the inner circle below. That's a really nice moment in the match. At one stage as well, MJF hits the Heat Seeker on Orange Cassidy, goes to make the cover, but the best friends reveal on the outside. They get the ref's attention and go, look, MJF's got his feet on the ropes. And of course he does, it's true as well. He's a big old heely cheat. While the ref is talking to the best friends, Jericho on the outside throws MJF the baseball bat. MJF's about to use it, but instead does the old Eddie Guerrero spot, pretending he's been hit by Orange Cassidy. Cassidy doesn't care, just sticks his hands in his pockets. MJF is infuriated, he gets up, grabs the bat, and now the ref turns around and catches him in the act. While the ref argues with MJF, Orange Cassidy grabs him, nails the beach break, but it's only good enough for 2. Orange fires up, hits a big pair of Superman punches, but is hurting his own hand, of course, in the process. He knocks MJF clean out, he makes the cover on the outside. Wardlow puts MJF's leg on the ropes for the rope break. Sneaky, sneaky Wardlow. At this point, it looks like Orange Cassidy has the match won. He turns around, and there is Miro, who's just ran down the ramp. Huge lariat, gets back out the ring, and MJF pins Orange Cassidy and wins once again the Dynamite Diamond Ring. The Best Friends immediately rush the ramp. They start brawling with Miro and Kip Sabian, who's there as well. Security and crew members all run out to try and break it up, and Miro just decimates a few extras, man. He grabs this like security guy or crew member or something and throws him clean off the ramp, off the side of the stage. It looked like a very nasty landing. Hopefully there was a crash mat in position. Back in the ring, MJF is gloating to the camera, showing off the diamond ring, and with Miro standing tall, that's how the show ends. I'm going to give this main event an A-. I thought it was very fun. Yes, it was a bit messy with lots of people getting involved, but it worked in kind of a sports entertaining sort of way. But how good was the show overall? Let's find out. I'm going to give this week's episode a B+ grade because despite all of these huge big segments, Sting, Shaq, Omega and Callis, I thought that none of them really broke new ground, as it were. They all gave extra details, they all moved us slightly along to the next stage of the story, but this episode didn't contain any significant beats, really. But that's not to say it still wasn't an entertaining show. It generally was from top to bottom, and I think the MVPs of this show, really, have to be the Inner Circle. Despite the big segments with Sting, Shaq and Omega and Callis, I found the most entertaining segments the Inner Circle. What is this, 2019? And so with that, it is time to say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching this video. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in that comment section down below, and stay safe out there, of course. Stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.